Hi, good morning, everybody. This is Mrs. Baxter, and today we are going to be starting our Unit 2 algebra with solving multi-step equations and talking about just basic equations and literal equations, okay? But one of the things I just want to quickly review is our order of operations, right? So last unit in numeracy, we studied PEMDAS, right? So parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division are the same. Like if you do multiplication, then the opposite is division, and same thing with addition, subtraction. If you see a subtraction, the opposite is addition, right? And when we had all the numbers, right, we would start with parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division. We move our way down, right? And when we do multiplication, division, or addition, subtraction, we also know we work left to right. So whichever comes first, right, you solve. So if division comes before multiplication, you solve that part first. All right, so with that basic understanding, we are now switching gears slightly. And something I want you to make sure that you know is that if you do not know all of your numbers and you have a variable, then it's important to know that we're actually going to be moving backwards in the order of operations, okay? And you'll see what I mean here in a second, but let me just do a quick demonstration. So say I have 2 times x plus 3 equals 4, okay? And I'm trying to solve for x. Well, when I look at this, if I was doing my regular order of operations and I knew what x was, that was a number, I would start here. But since we don't and we have an x, right, we are going to start here. So looking at my equation here, I'm going, oh, well, I do have an addition subtraction problem right here, right? However, it is in a parentheses and that comes last. So I don't have something that's outside of it. So I'm not going to do addition subtraction. The next thing I look at is, oh, do I have a multiplication division problem? Yes, I do. I have 2 times this expression right here, x plus 3. So I need to get rid of the 2. Since this is multiplication here, I'm going to do the opposite, all right? So the opposite of multiplication is this division. So we are going to divide both sides by 2. Because what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. It's your do-do rule, all right? So 2 divided by 2 here is equal to 1. 2 over 2 is 1. But now I'm left with 4 divided by 2, which is equal to 2. So now I have x plus 3. You're going to bring this down. Your parentheses go away, really, because you have nothing left that you're multiplying to or no exponents. So you can do x plus 3. So my parentheses are gone now. I just have x plus 3 equals 2. Now you go back. When I go, oh, I have no more exponents, I have no more parentheses, you start back over at the bottom. So I'm looking, do I have addition, subtraction? I do. What's the opposite of positive, or what's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. I'm going to subtract my 3 to get x by itself. 3 minus 3 is 0, so I'm left with x is equal to -1. Okay, that's a very simplified version of how we go through solving using our order of operations. All right, so let's go to our notes here. If we're looking at a problem here, there are some things that you need to do first, okay? So the very first thing when it's asking us to solve a multi-step problem, I'm noticing a couple things here. One of the big things is that I've got a 3x here, but I know that this is gonna be a 2x, I have a number. So the first thing you're gonna do is actually try to simplify this problem first, and we're gonna apply the distributive property to this equation. The distributive property is when I have this right here and I have to distribute 2 times x and 2 times 5, okay? So what you're gonna do is when you're solving this, I want you to solve these from top to bottom, like right underneath your problem. And we're gonna do this where I'm going to distribute, and I'm gonna just bring down my 3x. Whoops, that's not what I want. 3x. Now I'm gonna distribute plus 2 times x is 2x, plus 2 times 5 is 10, equals 15. Okay, now I'm going to combine like terms. So now remember, like terms means you have the same variables. They can be combined together. So I can do x squared plus 2x squared equals 3x squared, okay? But I cannot do, for example, x cubed plus 3. Those do not combine, okay? Cannot do that. They just stay x cubed plus 3. So in my equation here, I'm going to look for my combined like terms on each side. So right here, I have a 3x and a 2x. Combine the first. It's like saying I have 3 apples plus 2 apples. Oh, I now have 5 apples plus 10. Can't combine that because that's not a like term, equals 15. All right, let's go back to our PEMDAS. I see an addition subtraction problem, so I need to subtract 10 from both sides, okay? I need to do that. If you need to draw your line to separate your equal sign, that's fine. 10 minus 10 is 0. So I'm left with 5x equals 5. All right, going back to our whole PEMDAS, right? I don't have any addition subtraction. Next up on the list is multiplication division. I see a multiplication sign, and so I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so look at that. X is equal to 1. And divide both sides by 5, okay? I think if you follow that PEMDAS rule, you're going to do just fine. All right, so let's look at some other examples here. I've got solve the equation, show all work. So the first thing we need to do, if you looked at number 1, is apply the distributive property. I need to distribute or multiply -2 times 6 and -10 n times -2. So here, give me a second here. I'm gonna plug my iPad in before we die here. All right, so let's do it. -2 times 6 is -12. -2 times -10n is negative times negative is positive, right? Don't forget your equal sign. Then I'm gonna go 10 times 2 is 20n. 10 times -6 is -60. Now, here's where I just have to move things around. I'm going to get my n's to one side and my numbers to the other side, okay? So decide. It doesn't matter which side, as long as you're doing one thing to the other, you're doing the other thing to the other side. All right, so I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, let me subtract my 20n right here. Subtract 20n. Oh, okay, so when I do that, this becomes, that becomes 0, and I'm left with, -60, right? And then this becomes 0, and I'm left with -12. Well, that's weird. Is -12 equal to -60? No. So this one is no solution, okay? Because that just does not work out, right? No solution. All right, let's look at number 2 quick. Number 2, don't let fractions scare you, okay? We did them before last unit. So we're still going to distribute 2/3 times 3x. Well, I can multiply across. I would get 6x over 3 plus, just multiply across, 18 times 2 is 36 over 3 equals 5x minus 9. All right, when I do this, 6 divided by 3 right here is 2x, plus 36 divided by 3 is, if you put it in your calculator, 12. Oh, that works out quite nicely, right? Okay, now I'm going to move things over. All right, so I'm going to add 9 to this side, add 9 to this side. I'm going to get 21. That goes away. So I have 2x plus 21 equals 5x. And then I'm going to subtract 2x and bring it to this side. And I'm left with 21 equals 3x. Now, using PEMDAS, I'm just going to divide both sides. x is equal to 7. Sweet. All right, let's get a little bit crazy. Now, solve the following equations for the specified variable. So this time, we're not solving for a number because we have two variables, okay? This says we have to solve for f. So in the end, we have to get f equals something, all right? And right now, we don't have that. We have something equals 5. So how do we do that? Well, we're just moving things around like we normally do, all right? So if it helps and you need to underline your number that you're solving for, or your letter that you're solving for, go ahead and do that so that you don't touch it. Because now I need to move everything else over, okay? So I'm going to put my little thing down here, and I notice, okay, let's look at PEMDAS again. All right, going from the bottom up, I go, I've got to subtract my g away. So I'm going to subtract g. And now I'm left with 7f is equal to 5 minus g, okay? And then I'm looking still here because I have to separate that. What is the opposite? Well, I'm going to look at this, multiplication. Opposite is division. So let's divide this by 7. We have to divide the whole thing on the other side by 7. So our answer is f is equal to 5 minus g over 7. Okay? All right. Let's try this one. It looks crazy, but it's really not. We are solving for n. So somehow we have to get an n equals something, right? So I'm going to look here and I go, oh, here's my n. I don't want to touch it. Okay? So what am I going to do? I have 3 variables. Let's just move things around like we normally would. Well, again, PEMDAS. Okay? Well, I have an addition subtraction. Let's subtract our 4f from both sides. Okay, and I'm left with kn, that becomes 0, equals n, or 9v minus 4f. Okay, everything's cool, but now I have to get my n by itself. Well, this is a little bit of a multiplication problem, so I'm just going to divide by k. Just get rid of that. So now my n, these go away, becomes 1. N equals 9v minus 4f over k. All done. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay? All right. Let's look at this page. Okay, same thing. What I want you guys, actually, no, you know what? Let's do the next one together because this is another kind of a different one. This one right here, I want to make sure that you know we're going to solve for C, right? Let's solve for C. We're solving for this here. All right, when it comes to PEMDAS, sometimes the rules don't always apply, but here's what you need to remember. When you have this division problem here, these two are together because you've divided it both of these, by that 1, 2. So I'm not saying x over 2 minus c over 2. Nope, we're not doing that. We're doing x minus c over 2. Okay, so in that instance, when you see it, I want you to put a parentheses on the top like this. You can't, this becomes our parentheses here. You can't do anything until I work my way there, okay? So knowing that, even though I have my addition subtraction right here, it's in a parentheses. I can't touch it yet. So let's do this piece here. It's a division problem, so let's multiply both sides by 2. Okay, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, which gives me x minus c equals 2d. Now remember, when we do multiplication, we always put our number first, then our variable. Okay, so even though I have my 2 over here, you're just going to flip those around. Okay, so then the next thing is okay, pretty simple. Now I'm going to subtract my x from both sides, and I'm left with negative c equals 2d minus x, okay? But now we can't have a negative c, right? So how do we get rid of that? Well, it's the same thing as saying negative 1. So let's divide everything by negative 1, and I'm left with c is equal to, okay, we're going to flip it over and go negative 2d plus x, okay? If you ended up getting x minus 2d, you would also be correct, okay? Either one of those is correct. All right, so we've kind of gone over some of the major ones. What I want you to do is go ahead, try number 7 on your own, see if you can figure this one out, and then come back. And if you get stuck, that's okay. Okay, so pause the video and then come back. Okay, so hopefully what you figured out was that we need to divide by this whole amount right here because we're trying to solve for S, right? So this right here is a multiplication problem. So the opposite of that is divide. And you can divide by the whole amount here. Okay, so we're going to divide by 3x minus 5y. Okay, so then those become 1. Amazingly, and S is equal to 9D over 3x minus 5y. Okay. All right, if you have any questions about this, let me know. We're going to pause the video right here, give you guys the homework. You can do some of those problems on that, and then we'll come back and do the application problem another time.